Chickens, but we can start now. Safety, always, fire extinguishers, everything to go along with that. Let's have a good safe gear. All right, just some bullet points here on some of the stuff that's happening. Most of you have read the rumors and all that stuff that pertain around Irwindale. Jim and I have talked 2 or 3 different times. In a couple of weeks, we have a meeting. We have already plugged in a race day. The good thing that I like what Tim's doing is the in-house people that were there are still there. So that should make it a fairly simple transaction. It's not like we're gonna go to Irwindale and every single procedure is gonna be different. It's all new people and blah, blah, blah. You know how that goes. That doesn't seem to be the case. I mean, sure, he's gonna make changes and stuff, but the one thing that Tim said that I really like, and it's something that falls back on County, me, Mike, and especially Bill Lozon with Havasu, we're racers. We never were promoters. We just somehow got put in this position. That's Tim's same philosophy. He is a racer, and that's good. People that are thinking the same ways are. You get a corporate businessman in there, it's a whole different world on things that they do. Now, we've also heard about Rocky Mountain Raceway and it going away. My last conversation with Mike up there is that still stands true. It would not surprise me at all if he gets a 1-year extension because of inspections, contracts, permits, whatever it be, are further down the road. But I've already taken and made the effort and got with him and plugged in for 2019 2 races at Irwindale instead of 1. So we're not going to lose any events. The reason I'm telling you this is so that you guys know we're alive and well and we're moving forward. Okay, the November race at Las Vegas, and you're going to find out more about it tonight. But the November race at Las Vegas will be our race of champions, and we are going to take and continue on with a champion within a champion and make that a point race, but it's not a part of our 10 race point season. We started Havasu and we ended Havasu the way we have all along, all right? Rulebook website. Based on Facebook, emails, and stuff, I'm learning more and more all the time. You know, I'm gonna have to get into send in direct messages and stuff so I can do a better job. Gentlemen, please, at least once a week, go to the website. There's a hell of a lot of information on there that will help you out for future plans and stuff coming down the road. Now, on our rule book, we decided, based on some things that we want to talk about here in the meeting, that we're going to take and wait until after this meeting. It'll be a couple of weeks when the rule book comes out. But there is no race procedures or major rules that are going to happen that you won't know about today. Okay? Tech. When we go through Mark,
better late than never.
when we go into tech, and it's been working out pretty good, we're going to start asking each and every one of you to bring the majority of your crew with you when you go through tech. This will really help us. You know, we don't have one car to push through tech. We've got 30, 35 cars to push through tech. We do want your support when we come to tech to help get the cars through tech. Lineup, we love it. Is Mike Garcia here? Mike, there he is. Mike knows it, so does his son. You know, I'm going to put him on the mic this next year. Constantly, when we call you guys up for qualifying and or the grid lineup, you guys have got to start looking at the big picture. When I look back there and you know your 10th or where you're going to be and the car's still up on jack stands with no tires on it, very, very frustrating. Personal thing. Gentlemen, we've got to go that extra step to maintain a timely show. And a good example of this is our race at Las Vegas last year, where we had some guys changing motors at the last minute. The K family was changing motors at the last minute, Lenny White was, and stuff like that. I asked him for 5 minutes, just 5 minutes to extend qualifying so we could get everybody through, and he said no. But so happened we had an incident and qualifying did get exchanged. What I'm saying is you guys don't understand the urgency that with this window we have to get our cars qualified. We need some extra effort put into that so that we can get the cars through tech, on the track, and going. I want to applaud the drivers on re-lineup. This is going to be in the rule book now. On the cars, when the track goes yellow, you guys go single file, and then scoring adjusts the suit based on previous lap and so forth. Towards the end of the year, you guys did a great job and you've saved us an awful lot of time. This will read in the rule book that you must go single file immediately on restarts, and I'm sure you understand. Especially when we go to Kern, we got a straight 75 laps, and everybody's worried about running out of gas. We don't need to be screwing around getting cars lined up. You guys have all been there, done that. Okay, we need some opinions here, and this is really a tough one. Cars that are starting to smoke for whatever reason, and that's the problem, for whatever reason. Is a tire rubbing on the body or a Nerf bar? Is the guy smoking down a rear end and there's no oil going on the track? Is the guy burning down his motor? Or is the guy actually dropping fluid on the track? Let me remind you of a couple of situations that have happened. Lenny White, when he won Madeira, the last 5 laps of that race, that car was smoking. Okay, he was burning up a rear end. He was not oiling down the racetrack. Scott Winters, Irwindale, I think it was 2 years back. It was a motor issue or stuff. Heavy smoke, we didn't do anything about it. Man ended up finishing in the top 5, whatever it would be. Jason Irwin, Irwindale, the car's smoking, all right? We've had issues like with Larry Gershman, where the Nerf bar was laying on the tar and causing it to smoke. For us as officials, we really can't have a gray area. Excuse me. Smoke is smoke. You know what I'm saying? Here, the car is either smoking or it's not smoking. Is the car going to be black flag or not black flag? Now, there's really only 2 ways we can go, and I want your opinion on this, guys, is look, take each individual case one-on-one. Let a judgment call come into play of how severe it is. For instance, in our way of thinking in scoring, we're watching, I believe it was Jason Irwin's car at Irwindale, smoking, and I think Ryan Partridge's car behind him. The first thing we did is we started watching Ryan, see if he was losing track speed, and we've got his lap time every single lap, if he was sliding all over the track or what. In other words, we were trying to evaluate why that car was smoking. All right, and it wasn't necessarily because of oil on the race surface. However, the catch-22 of that, we didn't black flag. In his case, he ended up burning down the motor. I think most of you saw pictures and stuff of that, and he didn't finish the race. Okay, everybody's happy, except for him, very obviously. Point being is, putting us in the judgment call business is really, really tough. You know, But at the same time, black flagging Lenny Blake with 4 laps to go, leading a race. Oh my God, been there, done that. You know, that's the last thing in the world we want to do. So I need your opinion. What's your feelings on cars that are small? I mean, how do you feel about it? What do we do? How do we fix this?
You're talking about a rubbing or tire on a Nerf bar versus a smoking rear end or engine. That's 2 different situations.
Yeah, but we've got to, how do we know that?
You don't.
That's the
But
problem.
I mean, sometimes it's pretty obvious too.
Sometimes it is, sometimes it isn't, but,
I mean, we got black flagged at Havasu for having a rubbing tire,
right.
and it was a Nerf bar. How we would have came and fixed it anyway, it doesn't matter. But I'm just saying it.
There's a couple ways to look at that, you know. The car's smoking, the car's always got a problem. I don't care if it's a tire rubbing, the motor burning down, rear end burning down, or whatever the hell's going on. There's something wrong with the car.
Right.
But what it's saying is, what do you want us to do about it? If it's smoking, park it?
No. If you ask me, the first thing that has to come in your guys' mind is safety. And that's what you gotta decide that on.
That's exactly
Period.
that's what this is all about.
Because if we're at a bigger track and one of these cars gets away from it, specifically Kern, it's not gonna be a good ending. You have to make a call.
well, but even going back to the tire, I'm sorry, Bill, but even going back to the tire rub deal, that potentially is going to cause a problem. If that
That's what I'm telling you.
Right.
You need to pull the car off the track and look at it. If it's a tire rub, then send him back out. But what if he blows a tire? What if he cuts a tire
I'm
down?
running second behind Lenny White and that car's smoking, I'm squealing like a pig, I can't see where I'm going. Whether it's tire smoke or whatever, because I want to win that race and get it out of
He
my
just
way.
dumped 2 quarts of oil on my hood.
I mean, it's
I think
like,
I heard that.
You gotta think about the safety, that's all there is to it. Forget about the checkered flag or whatever. You gotta think about safety.
To me, it's a cut and dry issue. When we're smoking, there's something wrong with the car, period. I don't care what it is. So, and that's what I'm just saying.
Well, hey,
There's no happy medium. There's no happy medium.
Right,
So
and,
the only subjective part is how much smoke?
okay,
There's no happy medium. There's no happy
Did
medium.
he light up a cigarette? I mean, who knows? I mean,
And the corners are down the straight, they're all the way around.
I don't understand the consistent, I'm sorry, it's your lack of consistent criteria. I watched the car last year at a particular race, hold his own, if not moving up while smoking. Nothing was going on behind him, the driver behind him was doing just fine. I saw that car get pulled off the track, I saw the officials over looking and go, "Okay, cool, go on back out." 5 minutes later, we got out of the race, and no one said, well, this is why. Because the guy behind was smoking, this dude is gone.
Well, it's not moving forward now.
now, wait a minute, we have a different situation here. And I'll tell you what my opinion is in just a second, I wanted yours. When we're on a yellow flag on lap 40 and we got a car smoking, and we send him to pits and there's nothing wrong with that car, he even gets his position back. That was our call, and we have done that. That's not the real catch-22 on this whole thing, as it is a car that's smoking the last 5 laps of the race. For us to make a call on lap 25 that a car is smoking is a lot easier for us than a car on lap 70.
Shouldn't matter.
Well, that's a question.
One of these stops, the rest of the way around. Every time it goes in the corner, it smokes a little bit, then it's clear all the way around. You know it's a tire rub.
Right.
We all know that's what it is. But how are you gonna say that
Well,
that's just a detrimental
and we
smoke
do-
all the way around?
And we do run into the occasion where we get these cars that puff when they get back into throttle when they come on, for whatever reason, and we know they're not putting any oil or stuff on the track. Well, let me shorten this up just a little bit and give you my opinion, and then I'd like to, for us, not really so much to vote on it, but while you're here this weekend, talk to Bill, Brownie, Mike, and I, and Andy on what I think we ought to do is leave it up to the officials as a judgment call. Because there are so many different scenarios that come into play. Whether something is rubbing on the car or there's actual oil going on the racetrack. I don't know, that can open a big can of worms. And, go ahead, any comments?
Well, that's generically what we've been doing.
It's what we've been doing, business is normal.
Can you have people, like a flag man or somebody close, actually looking at the track when they come by and go, yeah, there's nothing coming?
Actually, Steve, we even have more than that. We have a man usually that does the cone, in most cases from the inside, turn 2, turn 3, wherever it might be, and so forth. Obviously, we have the starters, and then where was vision. But the other thing that we have is the spotters. Now, just like Bill said, and we've seen this happen many a time, the car running directly behind that guy that's smoking is screaming. You know what I mean? But not necessarily is anybody else in the field screaming about any type of oil problem on the racetrack, other than the racetrack just getting slick and tires get worn out and it's late in the race, they're hot, especially after a very, very long green run. Well, right now, talk to us this weekend. We want your input. We're going to sit down. But I mean, basically, in anything we do, you know, if it's not broke, don't fix it. It'll be business as normal. However, you've got to take into consideration the pressure that we're under in the situation that we're at on making this judgment call. So please, while you're here this weekend, talk to us. I mean, it's open format, as it would be. Red flag. A very embarrassing situation for me personally and my staff. That you take something like a red flag rule that has been in existence probably since the very first auto race sometime back in the 30s and stuff. However, in our rule book, it didn't say one damn word about red flags. What you can and what you cannot do. We talk about black flag, we talk about yellow flag, we talk about green flag, we even talk about checker flag. The race is over. Why? It didn't say anything about red. I have no idea. Dean and I have had some very business-like conversations on this whole subject, and here's what it is. It will be in the rule book, without a doubt. What we are trying to prevent on working on your car on red flags and or pitting on a yellow flag or changing a flat tire. We don't want to turn this series into a pit stop type scenario. You go into, we've seen it, and Dylan is probably the best example of that. We have taken and seen where guys come into the pits, they end up putting on 2 tires, fix whatever the problem is with the car, come out, blast them back all the way to the front. Spectacular, great TV, crowd loves it. Point being is, that's not what we want. In the rules, it's going to state, if you have a flat tire, you can only change that flat tire. You cannot change any other tires on your car. We're not trying to run the cost up, and we're not trying to create a scenario that, especially when you're on the bigger tracks, let's say Irwindale or Kern and stuff, where guys are coming in, making pit stops, taking advantage of the cone, restarting the race 12th, and on the next lap they're running second. That's not where we're going. That's just going to run the cost right up. So obviously in the rule book, the only tire you can take and change is the tire that is flat. And no, you cannot work on your car on a red flag. Yellow, yes you can. We do not count yellows until a certain point in the race, which we've all known for years what we do. After 5, we start counting them. And it's because of the longevity of the race. We're all familiar with it. We're playing that game. We don't seem to have any problems with it.
It's Marcia.
Something that's happened, and we've got personnel now to help cover it. After Tech, and the car goes over into the staging lanes. Sometimes we have a perfect case scenario like Rocky Mountain where you guys are right there in front of us. Havasu, pretty much so, you're right there in front of us. But then you have situations like Irwindale where you go up out of sight, and so forth. Gentlemen, after you leave the scales, if you touch that race car, you're going to the back, period. It's in the book, okay? If we bring you to staging prematurely, and there's a wreck on the racetrack, a blown motor, and there's netting time, we will let you check tire pressure. But we're not gonna let you do sway bar, shocks, change springs, and shims. All right? This is stuff we've all done, but we still have this problem going on as the season goes. So guys, we're gonna be on top of our game on this. The whole format of what the modified series does has always been based on 10 kind of go and no-go rules. If you guys think back and think about how much things have got better, guys flaring out the body, hardly exist anymore, but we're still looking, you know what I mean? Guys too high in the rear, too much tilt in the body, TV panels shoved way underneath, wickers, stuff like this. You know something? We're doing a great job. We're getting everybody on the same page, and I applaud you guys for working with us. No matter what the box is that we build, it's the same box for every single one of you. And that's probably the most important thing that we can do for you. And as always, I have always invited any one of your crew members are more than welcome to go over and stand it with us in tech, so that when we're inspecting the very first car, you can look at it, and then when your car goes through tech, you can see that. It's apples to apples, all the way through the field. I can tell you right now, most of the guys securing weight penalties, for whatever reason, they're not our top 10 cars. It's the next 10 cars. Because our top 10 cars are the guys that are doing their homework. Lead. Thank you again. We have taken and gone from 0 to hero on our lead mounting and so forth. We're not giving up on it though. Gentlemen, go back, look at your leg, your lead, half-inch holes, all right? Look at the mounting bracket, no aluminum brackets, and then you bolt to it on the lead. Now, 2 or 3 different times we had lead come off the cars this year. All but one time we found out who it was and what caused that particular situation. God forbid, man, we don't want to get anybody hurt with a piece of lead. I don't need to go there. You guys can already visualize the problems that go with that. Okay. This is the last thing that I've got on the meeting. And I'd like you to listen to me all the way through. And then at that time, before you really go through the ceiling, think about the perimeter of the whole thing. Aftermarket stubs. We're really a catch-22 in some cases. Availability of the product, them being bent. You know, I've heard nightmares about the availability of them and where to go and so forth. I went down, I've got 4 and I got 4 more coming. I have 4 right now of the Capri stub, $250, buried, no A-frames on it or anything. And I have 4 more coming. But that doesn't solve our problem. No matter what we do in the big picture, we're going to take and run out of these type of stubs that are available for our type of cars. So how do we switch over to an aftermarket stub and not destroy the value of a stub race car. That is really the big picture. How do we take and introduce something new and not zero this car? Because if we take the value of this race car that you have in your race car, in your garage right now, away from you, it's gonna scare everybody away. People are gonna stop investing in the series and everything that goes with it. This is what I wanna do. Based on, well, let me back up a bit. First of all, we do not as a whole, we do agree on one thing. We do not wanna marry a manufacturer and say the only stub you can run is Howell's ABC stub at these dimensions. We don't want to go there. All right? So what our thinking is, and there's some chassis builders in here right now, we'll be talking to them some more and stuff, is setting up a set of guidelines based on dimensions. Obviously, with the frame rail, bottom across member to the top of the frame rail, so forth. Okay, well, that's easy enough. It can only be so wide. Material, frame rail size, whether it's 2x3, 90 wall, or 2x2, or whatever it is. We have some very creative people out there. You're going to have to identify every single little piece of that stub in order to make this work. Okay, if we go to aftermarket stubs, does that mean rack and pinion? No, it does not. Period. So, the other thing is, we go to aftermarket stubs, so that means now we're going to allow straight rail cars on the right side? No. There's going to be a full perimeter frame rule that goes along with that stub. That stub, when it drops down behind the spring pockets, will have to have an elbow that goes outwards at a given amount of dimensions. And of course, the big one is obviously the left side, because of how far you can move the stub to the left. Obviously, it's the right side, because of how far you can move the perimeter of that outside rail in. You go to straight rail cars, think of the other things that start to come into play. Half cages in these cars, things like this. That's not where we're going with this. If we in fact allow aftermarket stubs, there will be a given set of dimensions that I can tell you will be comparable to an OEM stub. And then there is, this is the most important part, penalties, weight penalties and left side percentages that will never, ever, ever go away as long as I'm around the modified series. What I mean is if we go to aftermarket stubs, let me just throw some numbers out here, and none of this is locked in or down on paper. We go to aftermarket stubs and we say, okay, 50-pound total weight, 1% left side. That means you can only have 57% left, and your car is now 2550. When that number is determined, to be fair, that number is not going to go away. And this is why. Most of our modifieds that we've got right now are not brand new. Now, I grant you, there's some new chassis out there. Everybody's updating their equipment all the time. But in the realm of the big picture, 50 modifieds, actual brand new race cars from A to Z. We're going to have 8 or 10 probably this next year. It'll vary every year. The core of our racing is 10 to 40. That's the most important part of our racing, is that group of cars. It's not the top 10. And I don't mean to insult anybody, but it's not the top 10 that makes us healthy. It's not the top 10 that gets these promoters to pay the person that they're paying. Okay, it's the other guys. If we go to aftermarket stubs and all of a sudden we got 10 guys staying home, we're screwed. We are. Because that will be the downward trend of our entire series. It'll just keep snowballing. So stop and think about this. I mean, guys, really, it isn't what's happening today and tomorrow. It's what's happening next year. You know, every one of you are sitting in here that's got a hell of an investment in a race car. That investment ought to be greater or as good this time next year. Drivers come and go. You know, that's a shame. There's a lot of you, you know, we're a small enough group that we become very, very good friends. We become two good friends. You know what I mean? We help each other, tearing up race cars and stuff. That's fantastic. Heard a story earlier today that just really tickled me pink about somebody helping out another race team. That's what it's all about. But if we devaluate the car you have right now for whatever reason, it's going to kill the industry of modifieds on the West Coast. Now, I can tell you, Royal Purple series of Ida, Oregon, up in that area, they're going to aftermarket stubs. I don't know if it's going to be Howell, Abco, left-hander, I'm not really sure.
When we were talking, he was specifically going to the house stuff.
The Howell, okay, whatever. Salt Lake City, all for it. Salt Lake City, let me tell you, they're all for it for one reason, car count. Not because they think it's a good rule for the industry of modified racing. All right? I can't speak for Tucson. I should know, and I don't. But basically around here, the North Series, okay, they had about 35 different cars that did not overlap into our series with 50. You know, we got 85 modifieds here on the West Coast with all the stock stuff. If we devaluate one of them, we're going the wrong direction. So, Chris, when I talk to you, Steve Deeds, Jeff Rader, I will talk to you on a individual basis. We will talk to Howell. We'll get specs and stuff from them. I don't want to ace their, don't let me misunderstand, I don't want to ace their aftermarket stuff out. Avcos, whoever it is. But I don't want to marry them and say that's the only one you could buy. Because we all know what will happen there. They'll just keep upping the price. Nobody's happy. We haven't accomplished anything. So on aftermarket stubs, you're going to hear us talking about it. You're going to see us doing things and stuff with it. Here's the bottom line. Yes, we're looking at it. There is nothing in the rules for 2018 that involves aftermarket stubs until possibly, keyword possibly, the race at Las Vegas at the end of the year. And if in fact, if we do allow them, there will be, I'm telling you, there's going to be a minimum of weight penalty that goes with that. And I want you guys to make sure that you understand why. You know, please look at the big picture on everything we're doing. We're just trying to make things better for you. But at the same time, devaluating the value of your race car is the stupidest thing we could possibly do. And I'll tell you what, there's a lot of racers that have been here with us for quite a few years. And people like, and Dean, I'll use you for an example. You've been part of this modified series from day one. In fact, before we even started, you were part of it because you were part of the deal with Horn Show and those guys.
Super clean.
Yes, all the way back with those guys there, and so forth. Look at the growth that you've seen and what we've done to the value of the car. Steve, you got to be one of the happiest chassis builders on the West Coast. I mean, you have to be, because no, I'm just a spade's a spade. Here's the bottom line: man sells a lot of race cars.
That ain't no lie.
Yeah. Yeah, he didn't say they were free. But at the same time, as you're talking to us about these aftermarket stubs and stuff, guys, constantly keep the big picture in mind on what we're trying to do and what can be the repercussions and so forth. Now, right now, I've got 4 the stick stubs that I could sell to you. I got 4 right now I can sell to you tomorrow, if they're still there. I did put the email.
They're gone. They're gone.
They're gone.
Steve Teach bought it.
Steve does not want to talk to me about aftermarket stuff. Point being is the man told me he's got 4 more. And so forth. I will follow up on that. And so forth. Chris Bray has already mentioned to me that he wants to get them and so forth. As you're talking to the officials here, as we open this up to an open format here in just a couple of minutes, like I say, guys, keep in mind the big picture, what we're really trying to do. You're going to hear some announcements tonight at the banquet that you guys are going to say, son of a bitch, look where we've come. You know, we've got some great stuff, and I don't want to let the cat out of the bag here and show banquet and stuff tonight. We got some stuff coming down the pipeline that when you look back, you know, what we used to race for and stuff. Our very first season, we had 6 races. Our point fund, our purse for those 6 races was $36,000. Guys, we're spending that much right now. Yeah, we know that. That's huge. Our first whole season, that was 6 races. You know, we were paying, I don't know, $500 to win and $100 to start. You know, whatever it might have been.
That's what it was.
All other programs, and we'll talk about it more and stuff. You know, the tow money program and things like this, we'll announce later tonight at the banquet, but guys, it's good. Okay, open format. We got Bill and Dustin, go ahead.
So, on this whole fabricated front end thing, over the last 3 or 4 years, I've supplied clips to both Bray and Steve. And I say I pulled about 20 to 30, somewhere in that range.
Wow.
It takes about 3 hours a clip to do. It sucks. That's just the bottom line. It sucks.
Well, it's dirty. It's a dirty job.
I'd say in between doing those 20 to 30, I wouldn't see the point of switching to a fabricated front end just because of the simple fact. Rules. I'm not saying you're doing a bad job of it. I'm saying the rules for the clips have not been to the rule book for 4 or 5 years since I've been here. I have not once
In
seen.
what respect?
I have not once seen anyone check any of the front end as far as it being moved around or anything like that. Spring buckets aren't supposed to be messed with. Those are being messed with all the time. Lower controllers are being messed with all the time. There's nothing on that front end that ain't OEM anymore. Maybe the spindle at that.
That is true. As a matter of fact, in Brownie and my conversation that we had here just recently on the a tool for measuring bottom A-frames and stuff is all coming into play. You're 100% right. We have been lax at that. As far as inner anchoring points and stuff, as long as you have a tread width rule and an A-frame rule, considering we have a spindle rule that come into play, an and/or type situation, ball joint location, all those things that come into factor and stuff. Dustin, point well taken. Point well taken, and we're on. Anybody else? Come on, guys. Dean.
So, I thought about this before coming here. I kind of thought, you know, one of the most frustrating things about racing is, especially when you're racing for points, is if you have a misfortune that somebody else caused. And so, like, if you're going into a corner and somebody runs in the back and spins you, you had nothing to do with it, but both of you go to the back. And that's like the most frustrating thing in the racing that we have, because you spend all year, and this is nothing against you guys, make sure you understand that, but we race all year to collect points, and one weekend can mess you up that had nothing to do with you. So what that does is, that gets somebody really fucking hot, and they're in your pit that night. So it makes it, so you and I talk, let me finish, you're about to talk. So you and I talked like a year and a half ago at Tucson, and you talked about having a chance at some instant replay on stuff. Now, I know that's not really easy technically, but I just wanted to kind of bring this up. when we were in Orange Show, Michelle Capello was doing Facebook Live. And we had a situation with their kettle. And I walked over to her, I said, hey, do me a favor, post that real quick, I want to watch it. She posted it, and I watched it in 30 seconds. I don't understand, I wish we could do something with technology to where you had said it very, very, very good at the very beginning of the meeting is, we don't want to be in that position to make those decisions, like the smoke you're talking about. That's the same position you guys get put into these races, and it's tough. And I don't think it'd be very hard with technology right now to be able to make an educated decision on some of those things. And again, it's nothing against you guys. It's nothing against what's happening, but it is. I mean, not this year, but last year, you know, we wrecked Taylor Miinch of Tucson. You know, and it was nothing to do with him. It was us. We did it. And in that situation, he looked back at it like, hey, I lost a championship last year. You guys wrecking us, which was valid. Dylan didn't mean to, but it was part of it. So if there was a way, I think that is the absolute, I love everything about the series, I love what's going on, even the bad stuff. I just want to be honest about this. If there was a way we could change that part right there, if there was a way we could instant replay some of the stuff. I mean, one camera in one corner, one camera in the other corner. As soon as an accident happens, boom, post it. Somebody looks at it. I mean, it's live. I know Facebook Live is an anti-deal for Lucas Oil TV. I know that's not a good thing for Lucas Oil TV. So I'm not saying post it and everybody watch it. I mean, I don't know how to do it, but I just think I'm not a technology guy. With technology, I think you could take a lot of that burden off of you and take away a lot of frustration of racers who get taken out that had nothing to do with the accident. And we both go to the back, that's the rule. That makes sense?
Dean, in so many different ways. Let me answer that this way. Don't think that we've been lax at this. We went through a 3-4 race situation with instant replay. Bob Pattison, president of Lucas Oil, brought it to my attention. He says, Greg, I'm telling you right now, don't do this. Television and instant replay can be very humbling. That was his exact words. We tried it. We ran into some situations and stuff, and finally the light came on. And it's really kind of amazing on what you see in slow motion or whatever and in instant replay as against what you thought you saw on the racetrack. The bottom line is the time that it took to really do this. Now, I grant you, Dean, some other technology has come along. You know, if it might be something to look into to where we have a designated person doing that, if they have the capability of doing it for the entire field. Now, if we have a person that is through their telephone or whatever the situation is taping the race, but they're only taping Dylan's car, that's not going to fulfill the big picture of the problem.
Absolutely not. Yeah, no, you have the two cameras.
Okay, so for it to be looked into, absolutely. If there's technology out there that will aid us in the judgment calls that we make, I am all for it. Now, I can tell you that in some of the other series, you'll meet a gentleman later tonight and so forth on how they do their stuff as far as rough driving or spinning a guy. It's a completely different thing. It's not apples to apples compared to what our rule is. We become a little bit as a creature of habit, and that does not make us right. I'm here to tell you, any technology that can make our job easier, I'm 100% for. Any comment?
You know, Dean, instant replay, just off instant replay. We had an incident at the track, 2 different incidents. I made the perfect call, okay? I made the perfect call. Mike gets on a ring and says, that's not what happened. Mike's in the TV room and watching and go, that's not what happened. Okay? He will rule me. Instant replay. Okay? I thought I made the right call, and my call was way out of base and we showed it to you later. But on another incident, we had 2 or 3 angles of something that happened on the racetrack. And we come down with this, well, this guy did this and this guy did this and stuff like that. Then out of the blue, another angle from another camera, which we didn't even see till way after the fact shows up, and it's completely opposite of what we thought we'd seen.
It's,
And so what I'm saying is, you know, when we make a call on the racetrack, it's boom, just like you guys did it, you're driving it, you're spotting it, you make that incident, we make the same call if we happen to catch it. Okay? My problem, and I'll be done, my problem, it's just so big, it's just, you know, we got 30 cars out there, I'm sitting down there in turn 2, and I'm trying to watch 30 cars come around this corner. And I'm sitting here, and I don't have 30 sets of eyeballs. I can't say any clearer than that. And I'm sitting there, a good example was 2 front runners got tangled up with each other right in front of me, and I missed it. You guys get on the road, what happened? What happened? I did not see it. I just seen zap, and I see the car spinning. And I went, I'm not trying to defend us, I'm just saying this is the problem that we have. Now granted, on your guys, you got the spotter, you got the driver. If anybody knows what happened, the driver thinks he knows what happened, even though he got asked running from 4 or 5 cars back.
Right.
The guy behind him took him out. So,
let me add to Bill's conversation. Just recently, the Madera race was on TV in high definition too. Did you guys get a chance to see that?
What was it again?
Madera modified race earlier this year. The one where Jason got in the 90 car, the one where Blake got tore up, the one where Eddie got tore up. Anyway, that has aired. I hope you copied it. There is a perfect example of watching a race and not necessarily what you thought happened. That is a perfect race to look at. It says, I'll be damned. You know, I thought, and I don't want to get, I thought Mark in the 115 car parked off the 90 car turned left, and Jason nailed it. Wait till you see it on TV. That is not what
And that's
happened.
both you guys, what you said, supported what I'm saying.
And point being is it's real easy to point fingers and stuff. I mean, take this in a positive note. I'm here to tell you that's not what happened. When you look at the situation with Blake, with Eddie and Michael, you're going to be very surprised that there are situations that happen on the racetrack that aren't anywhere near as deliberate or whatever as you might think. You know, and like I say, just watch it and come to your own conclusion. That will really help you when it comes to instant replay. But let's back up to what Dean brought up. I'm here to say that if we have a source of new technology that's going to help us, bring it on. If you've got a person in your pit area that wants to take and sit right next to me and film that race and say, here, Greg, there it is. You know, maybe this will help you. I'm on it. But when it comes to a rule that fits first and second and also 20th and 21st, you know, it's got to be even across the board.
Sure.
And we all do this, and we're a victim of it too. You got 4 or 5, there's 5 laps to go, and you got 4 or 5 guys battling for the lead. You got a hell of a race going on. And all of a sudden, you end up becoming your own worst enemy. All of a sudden, you start watching the race and not doing our job. That happens.
Sure.
It does.
It's almost impossible for you guys to call the
You know what I
wrecks
mean?
when
Well, you know-
off the
Down
president.
the hall. A bunch of you guys, we never raced with a spin wheel.
Back in the day, we're
We never
talking.
did. We didn't have that. We took care of our own problems in the pits after the race. That's where it worked. And a lot of you guys around here that are car owners, crew chiefs, something like that, you know them rules. So now, the rule we have, I call it the babysitting rule. Part of it is because now there's police involved. That deal at Madeira, a couple years ago, Lenny, you were involved with that, Dean, when all that crap went down. There was a guy kept beating on my shoulder, "Go me call the cops, go me call the cops." He said, no, we're fine. And then, anyway, but that's a problem we're fighting. You know, we want to make the perfect calls. Believe me, we all want to make perfect
That's why
calls.
we're all the same page.
And, but I don't know what the answer is. If we all had GoPros on our cars, the GoPros wouldn't make the perfect call.
Well, I think a stationary camera in one corner that doesn't follow any drivers, stationary camera in the other corner doesn't follow any drivers,
But Dean, that isn't reality. What happens is, you know, pick a track, Irwindale, Kern, whatever. One camera is not going to show you what you want to see from that angle. All a camera really does is give you another opinion. We are.
the camera has no opinion. It shows the results.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. And that's, we are so used to watching Sunday afternoon TV where they've got 15 different camera angles, and then a lot of times they'll have to go through 3 or 4 different shots before you really see what
And
happens.
you may not get all of them, but I don't think one camera, like I said originally, I think one in one corner, one in the other corner, hitting both. Most incidents happen in the corners. You're not gonna make all the calls. It just takes the monkey after your guys' back.
In your defense, Dean, and believe me, I'm bleeding with you. This is exactly why NASCAR, Can-Am, SRL, some of the different deals, they don't have a black flag rule, period. And we've all seen this. We all saw the deal where Elliott got put into the fence, where it was at Martinsville.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything more deliberate, blunt in my whole life. And hey, it's just racing. Bullshit. That ain't just racing. That's not what we're about. Going up there to see how many cars we can tear up for good TV or a good show for the spectators. That is not what we're about. We think back to a couple of seasons and stuff, and we did have a very unique situation this year on tearing up race cars. It falls under, damn it, you know what I mean? And this goes all the way back to Doug Ham at Tucson, and then, you know, some of the other cars that got tore up during the year and stuff. I mean, these cars got tore up bad. Son of a bitch, this isn't what we're about. Let's don't focus in so hard on the rough driving and the spin rule that it becomes a very major negative in our series. Gentlemen, we're working on it. And we are welcome to any suggestion you got and any technology you got.
The PCS lane law series has a rule. The PCS lane law series in Northern California has a rule that if a driver spins out another driver and they admit it's their fault, they stick their hand on the road, they go to the back, the other guy gets a spot back. I mean, not everyone's mad enough to say they messed up, but I guarantee there's some situations, such as Dylan's situation at Tucson last year, where Dylan said, hey, I take fault, Taylor doesn't deserve to be out of the race because I did this. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying it always works, it doesn't have to do it, it's all voluntary, but I think it should be an option.
Mike, we've talked about that scenario. If Greg Scheidegger dumped me, he would never say he did it. Period. I mean, that's the problem with that. I mean, it's, there's nothing here.
Some people actually do that. That eliminates
Rocky Mountain Raceway does something very similar to that, and maybe something like that would work in this series. And like I say, I want the phone calls and I want the emails and stuff.
Sure about that?
But now I want them. But let me give you the flip side of that. All right? Okay, in that particular case, Dylan got into no, Dylan, am I right? Dylan got into Taylor, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Dylan comes around and says, give Taylor back his spot, man. I missed the corner.
If you done it,
Okay, done and said. Now, the very next race or the next one, John Doe takes out Dylan, and when he comes around, he goes, hi, guys. Ain't no way. Send that son of a bitch to the back. He cut me off. Where in the hell are we gonna be?
It takes you guys out of the equation.
Right.
It's the drivers that are
The
amongst
drivers.
themselves.
So then, so what you're telling me is, then, okay, Dylan got spun out by John Doe. John Doe's not going to the rear, but Dylan is because he's spun.
I think these scenarios don't have the rear.
No, they both go to the rear. If someone doesn't claim it, they both go to the rear.
go to the
They go to the rear. If someone claims it, only one goes.
I don't think it has to be,
Something like
anything has to be
that.
100% spell-based. It's
Yeah.
not just like the flash, the reverse wind. It doesn't have to be 100% guaranteed to happen every time.
Dean, let me ask you, how many guys got GoPros on your car?
Just about everybody.
Because everybody got GoPros?
Yeah.
Well, that's great for after the check the flag. It ain't really
That don't
that.
help us at the moment.
But
There is nothing
that's
you
a lie.
can do.
That's the point.
Drivers.
Like I said, in Orange Show, just again, an example, in Orange Show, I didn't know what happened. I didn't know if Dylan cut into third kettle. I know Pa third kettle thought he did. And I was like, what happened? I walked in Michelle post that real quick. I literally looked at my phone and I go, oh no, we're good. Show you, let me show you. Before we went green, I saw it. Again, you guys, I'm not trying to say you're doing something wrong. I'm just trying to bring something to you.
Well,
My thought was.
I think what he's saying is
Now,
there's times, Greg, that a driver knows they fucked up. Like Sonny
Exactly.
said.
Right,
And in that
exactly.
instance, the driver.
And you know something?
But it doesn't have to happen every time. Otherwise, everybody goes.
Right, I'm starting to like it based on what Mike just said. If Mike doesn't commit to getting into Dylan, then
Well,
screw it.
look at that.
Both of you go back and
One person
end of
hangs
argument.
up, that's
We're
what it is.
not gonna,
Because that makes the worst argument afterwards.
yeah.
We ruined our
Well,
weekend.
it happened today, Greg, if it just improves 5 or 10%.
There you go.
You pick up 5 or 10%.
Exactly.
After Vegas, Lenny came to Blake and said, I messed up, I got in, I spun you out. He came and manned up. If they could have that option, then give it back.
Right. I'll tell you what.
I agree.
I'm all
I
for
agree.
doing 4 or 5 races and then regrouping and saying,
You know, if you man.
all right, guys.
You have nothing to lose.
You might not
You have
be seeing
zero to
Wait,
lose.
you are so right. Mike is 100%. You gotta remember, guys, and I'm gonna make this the end of the meeting with one last comment. No matter what call we make, at best, we can only be 50% right.
And that's only what
Think
happens.
about it. I don't care what it is. We can only be 50% right. And as long as I can take and walk up to you, eyeball, which we have done, and say, hey, man, I stepped on it. Or, Rick, what the hell happened? And we explain to each other and we go, down the road we go. But when the day comes that after the race, we're having incidents in the pits, you don't understand that. That's all I understand.
We all agree to that.
Oh, sometimes a blown engine or a broken part or something so much better than somebody else running our weekend.
Especially when the person who runs your weekend says they did.
I'm willing to.
I like that.
You know,
I like
the
it.
last thing on that, I think
The
that's
gentleman
important.
rule.
Is
You know
the
what?
fact that
Let the guys.
Dylan gets into Taylor,
Right.
and he says, my bad, Dylan gets his spot back. Down the road, Taylor's gonna have to come back. Eventually, everybody's gonna have to make that decision. And I wanna be honest, they're gonna get fucked on their side too.
Gentlemen, this is why some of these things we're talking about here, this rule, I'll call it maybe a courtesy rule.
I call it tap rule.
I can say one thing that's a very, very big positive, and this is going to be the information. In this group of people that we have, that might really work. Because we have such a good group. And not just a good group 1 through 10 or 20 through 30, we got a good group through 35.
Well, and the other thing they got to remember is you guys race with each other every race. So if you don't man up and do the gentleman deal or whatever, you know, it will come back around. It will come back around. I think it's a great idea.
I think it's great.
I think it's worth a try.
Once the momentum starts, we keep going.
Well, and we've got 2 races right off the bat. If we're going to try it, I think what we need to do is try it for 3 races. And I got the perfect 3 races. Havasu Small, Tucson, and then beautiful Vegas, our worst case scenario. No,
Vegas is,
no, I made the most money. We share up more hearts in Las Vegas than all the rest of the
What
city.
happens when 2 Should the front runners take that third, fourth, and fifth place, so it gets a place back then?
Just do it. Just do it.
See,
I mean, you're opening up a whole different can of worms.
Just let it happen.
I have that answer, but we don't have it.
Okay, that's fine.
Because I can tell you, that happened in Orange Oak, every single one of those cars did get their spot back.
Go like this.
That happens because you can't score it. That's the bottom line. You got 15 cars in a wreck, you throw in the dirt, man, we don't know what the hell happened. Okay, gentlemen, that's all I've got right now. Please talk to us, and if you would, please put the chairs back around the tables. They're all at this end.
And be back in an hour.